Hello and welcome to another episode of the Electric Norwegian. I'm Mats. This is, I think, year 3 now of my update when it comes to my 1997 Porsche Boxster. I think as last year's update became a bit of a rambling video. I'll try and avoid this time. And it's, as you can see, it looks pretty good. Runs as it's supposed to do. Doesn't leak any oil last time I checked. Worn some of the paint is a bit worn on it, like here for instance on the door. The clear coat is kind of falling off from here on, and in front we got that got repainted a few, 2 years ago now, I think. Yes. That's a reflector. It's supposed to be glued back on. I just haven't gotten around to it. We fixed the O2 sensors this year. There's one of them. So that is an error code that's now gone. And it's past its yearly or its biannually checkup. So it's deemed roadworthy. The brakes were changed a few years ago. The suspension bushings or whatever, knuckles or whatever it's called, it was changed last year. It's been done quite a lot of stuff with it. Rear tires are renewed last year. So yeah, it's done. Let's see how long is it gone? Far, getting on to 200,000, which is, decent mileage. Slightly worn hair on the steering wheel, the seats. Trying to freshen them up a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. But everything here works. There's no leather package on it. This is slightly soft, not really. It's just some of the plastics in here are atrociously bad at the level of at the price level of this car. Really, it is. But it's a practical little thing. And you have these two levers here. And also you have door pockets. Very nice. There's also pockets behind the seats where you can keep your paperwork and stuff. And also there's a little bit of space under the where the roof goes in the engine. Well, that's mounted right there, mid-engine. Here you have a boot, which, when did this come off? Ah, well, never mind, it'll be fixed. And since the engine is here and the exhaust is going under here, when you're driving, after a while that boot gets warm, not hot but warm. So don't keep your ice cream in there. You can keep your ice cream in here. This is quite spacious. I am terribly sorry. The car looks like a mess. I haven't cleaned it out in a while. I don't use it that much. I use it every now and then. Every year I say I'm going to sell it now. I'm tired of spending my money on fuel and old stuff. Semi-electric seats, which is probably the most stupidest thing ever, and they sort of work in a way. You manually adjust them back and forth, and that's about it really. I'm long-legged, so you just slam them back and then it's sort of done with the adjustment. Steering wheel can't be adjusted, as in wait a moment, it can be adjusted for something. It's probably for adjustment of reach on the steering wheel, but probably got old and stuck or something, I don't know. But hey, at least the lever is there. We're getting some heat into the water as well. It's about 10 degrees outside. It's an extremely warm. We're almost in November, for crying out loud. So I should have made this video a long time ago. I simply have been extremely busy this fall, so that's why it's also been a lack of content in general. I just haven't had the time, which is sad. It's 1997, so it's the first year of production of this. They were made in at the Valmet factory in Finland, actually, because Porsche themselves didn't have the capacity to make them. They were basically busy trying not to go bankrupt at the time. So what saved Porsche were the Porsche Boxster and also particularly the Cayenne. You can like the Cayenne or not, but it did save the factory. There's no oil leaks or anything and the water levels are fine, so we'll see if the check engine light comes back next time. Otherwise, well, whatever. Anyway, one thing I forgot to mention, the design of it. It looks like a 996 911 that came the year after. Fried egg look, if you want. And at the time it was derided and it was hated for years. Now it kind of come back to its own because it's now so old that you look back at it and think, oh my god, it looks amazing. It doesn't look amazing. And you can say that the back looks a bit like the front, and it sort of does, but when you see this car, it's kind of a design, let's call it a three-dimensional design. There's a lot of lines and flowing curves on this car. You don't necessarily see them in photographs or so easily in video. But it really has a handsome look to it. It's not a gorgeous thing. It's not, oh my god, that's insanely beautiful, look at that. But it has its own thing to it, and particularly over the back where the flowing arches towards the rear. And it all kind of comes together. It looks really nice, particularly if you get to follow one along the road on a summer's day, and you can see how the light plays over the surfaces in the car. And I really have come to grown to love this thing. It's not a stunning look, but it is a distinct thing, and you can kind of see that they were definitely aping the 550 of the 1950s, the James Dean car, but in a modern way. In a modern way of the 1990s, of course. I like it. Yes, the one that came after this had a sharper look to it, and also they had more money to throw around at it, so you can sort of feel that all over the interior. But these cars aren't bad, and as for the whatever the M96 or whatever the engines are called, and the bore scorching and all the whatnots, okay, yeah, it affected 2% of the cars or whatever it was. And has it happened to this one? Not as far as I know. And if it haven't happened by now, well, I don't think it will happen. Maybe I'm wrong, it might happen tomorrow, but that's life. So don't worry too much. If you want an old car, check it out. If you like it, buy it. As Jay Leno always say, buy it now while you can, because tomorrow it might be too late. And God knows that's true. After 171,000 kilometers, this is a US import, for those of you who didn't notice. I don't know exactly from where, I haven't read the papers that much. Somewhere warm, Texas or California or somewhere, Florida maybe. It came here in, I think it's 2008, to Norway. So basically for the last 15 years, it's been an enthusiast car. And run probably mostly in summers. Sort of like the heater here. Yeah, it generates heat, but not much of it hits me. Most of it goes away somewhere. That's it. I don't have the rear screen. The wind deflector, if I had that probably would have helped. But it's lowered, it's stiffered, so it doesn't ride on the original shocks and springs. So it's a little bit stiffer than normal, but it works fine once you get on the open road. Obviously bridge joints like this is a little bit too stiff. The original car would have been a lot softer. Well, a lot softer. Would have been more pliant. I haven't driven an original car. I've driven the 987 as they were called, the cars that came after this. This is a properly modern interior by today, a big lift. Basically it wasn't a new model, it was just a huge facelift. By comparison, I mean. So, and that's a really, really, really nice driving car. So is this. It only has a 2.5 liter. When it came, many people said it was a bit underpowered because it only has 205 horses or thereabout. So it's not like it's, oh my god, this is incredibly fast, because it isn't incredibly fast. But it's ouch. They went to GT3. It did 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in about 6.5 seconds. So, you know, I mean, today it'll be outrun by any Golf you want to mention. And even at the time, that wasn't particularly quick. But now, after almost 30 years, does that matter? No, not really. What I usually say this: if I want a fast car, a quick car, I can buy a used Plaid or a Model 3 Performance or whatever. Outrun anything. If I want an experience, I can buy this or an MX-5 or, you know. And that's why I bought the Jaguar, which I slightly miss. I don't miss the consumption of the Jag, mind you. This one also has consumption. I've never ever brimmed it up, so I've never measured the consumption of it. I can't be bothered. If you can poodle around like now in 5th gear at 1500 RPM, I mean, the car it weighs about 1300 kilos, so it's relatively light, so you can, and it's a pretty strong engine. So it just pulls nicely from 5th, even at low speed, not a problem. So it's not really a big issue. But it is an experience, this. That's why I keep it, and that's why I keep keeping it, because every time I say to myself, I'm gonna sell it now, well, you get in it in the spring or whatever, and it's just okay. The interior is plastic and cheap, and it's not particularly fast. And the model and the Boxster S with the bigger engine has a much. It has more presence because of its bigger engine. It's more sound and more of everything, really. But this isn't half bad. And at 171,000, almost 172,000 kilometers, it still feels pretty decent. Everything here works. The aircon doesn't work, mind you. That's gone out the window, but whatever. It's not a big issue on a car like this. But the heater works. It probably should have had some looking after, some cleaning or something done to it, so it would have distributed heat even better, but the car feels solid. The only thing that's slightly worn really is the interior, the seats and particularly the steering wheel, and also the handbrake lever. The leather is almost gone there, so it should have been replaced. But everything else feels perfectly alright. And when you get around to it, still feels properly fun. And even if it's a small capacity engine, it still pulls. And when the road opens up and you begin to load up the chassis a little bit, yeah, it shows you what it can do. There is this constant blinking light here of the thermostat claiming the car is overheating, but it's not overheating. It's just yet another faulty sensor. So there is that. get about 4,000 or something. The engine really opens up and yeah. No, it's not slow. Not one bit. No train. Okay. So is it all about power? No. It never was. Ever. It's about... This isn't a slow car, it's not a fast car either. It's a little bit too fast for the open road sometimes. And the gearing is a little bit too tall. But here you go. And yes, it has been desnorkeled. There's this snorkel sitting in one of the air intakes, which you can take out. And I was supposed to do that, and it turned out someone else done it before me. So, granted, it doesn't sound like a fast, hard revving GT3, because it really doesn't. Partly because it isn't, but it has its own sound. It sounds enough, and yeah, you can get more sound out with another exhaust. This still has a factory exhaust. God knows how that will be to remove after almost 30 years of service. But hey ho, it's a huge steering wheel too. It's one of the strange things about this car. It's a massive steering wheel by today's standard. I'm driving Teslas as a daily, and they have a very, very quick steering rack. This doesn't. It's like slightly, not to consider driving a bus, but it is a bit slow. But you can sort of trust it. When you get out of center, which is a little bit dead on center, the steering, and then you get out of it, and then it just kind of loads up. And even though it doesn't necessarily deliver Oodle's feel, it tells you what you need to know. And you can really push this thing hard. Once you get into a flow with it, because it's a mid-engine, you can really push this thing. And unlike the 911s, this doesn't try to kill you. Well, it can, but not as fast. And not quite as sudden. It's a bit more quite pliant actually. So yeah, which is nice. When the brakes work, before I changed them, I never really complained. I didn't think, oh my god, these are old and terrible. And they weren't. And then the car started kicking up sensors saying the brakes are worn and stuff. It still does that, but now I think it's just the sensors that's old, because the brakes are new. And I got the new brakes, and you felt instantly on the brake pedal. It's firm. It's like poof, you're stopping, and they're really working now. So considering the car is 1300 kilos, so it's relatively light, it's a nice power to weight ratio, and it feels light. It has this. I mean, you can have great fun in an electric car. I know I've had great fun in many of them, but there is something to be said for lightness, and also open top kind of experience. It adds something to it just becomes a different driving experience. I've driven the Cayman. I love the Cayman to bits. If Cayman hadn't been made by Porsche, or to put it this way, if Porsche didn't have the 911, the Cayman would have been hailed like the magnificent driver's car it actually is, because it really is. It's a wonderful mid-engine sports car. that is, well, it has evolved a lot since I drove the first generation S, of course. Now the Cayman is probably a different beast in its many disguises and versions, but it always were a very, very easy to drive, in that sense that it gives you trust, and so does this. It gives you trust. It gives you to drive it, to trust it, and to just use it, and to not necessarily push it like an idiot, but you end up coming faster into the corners than you expected to, simply because the car gives you the confidence to do that. And for a car to at least give me that confidence, it has to have the basics right. They have the chassis, the car has to communicate with you. If it doesn't do that, then well, it doesn't really work. I am slightly tiring of the costs of running this thing, because there's always something requiring your money, even if it's just just petrol. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a faff, particularly in now in Norway, where the regular 95 petrol have become E10, which is I think it's ethanol that have mixed into it, so not all old engines can take that. You can risk drying out all the gaskets and stuff, so I have to run 98 octane and 95, and I alternate between filling them, so I always have some 98 in it, at least I think I have, so I get kind of to lubricate the engine properly. And yeah, well, it's a minor thing, but and I'm still struggling with selling the old Model S, which is weighing down the economy, which has nothing to do with this car, but it's for sale. If you want to buy a Model S, please do, preferably buy mine. It's a brilliant thing, this. I really am so glad I bought it, because I wasn't really planning to at all. It was a really spur of the moment purchase. I was thinking about getting a 911, and then well, look at the Boxster, it's half the price, and then this popped up, and it's slightly worn. I love the color of it. It's called Arena Red, and I really like it. It's not a, I'm not gonna say this, it's not the most normal color, I think, at least that I've seen. And yeah, and also the exhaust still holds up. I think it sounds, it has volume when you want it to, and otherwise it pulls around, but it always have the presence of a multi-cylinder engine. Even though it is a relatively small displacement engine, you can hear this is not a 4-cylinder. There's nothing wrong with a good 4-cylinder, but this is not one. Are the lights good? No, they're crap. They're really bad, and particularly because I think one of the headlights is slightly wrong adjustment on it. No, but they really are not good at all. This came, or at least a 911 of its day, came with xenons. But they cost a fortune at the time being, and they probably still cost a fortune. So I don't know, but it's okay. It's okay. Sound system is alright. It's the bass sound system, I think. Sounds okay. Not too bad. You could get this one with a Bose and a subwoofer and everything. So, but this doesn't have that. It has the screen here. Obviously, isn't original. And yes, Porsche do sell you screens. You can actually put a Porsche screen in this car. That makes it very advanced. Actually brings it bang up to date with all the mod cons you want, and your Spotify and your maps and your CarPlays and stuff. Here at the area in front of me, where you see, well, you see nothing really. There used to be a Esso station there. Now that's gone. There also used to be probably an old BP petrol station, something from the 50s. That's also gone. We're gonna expand the road there. And there, on the other side of the road, where the excavation machine is, excavator, there is used to be a Shell. That's gone. It's really changing the city and also the times. But that's what makes it a bit fun to stick on to this old car. It's not very old, but it's, it's getting on a bit. There's no electronic steering here. There's no traction control here. There's there's nothing really apart from a clutch pedal. It's not really heavy, but depends on what you compare it to. It's heavier than in most normal, like say Ford Mondeo of its day or whatever, you know. So it's an old school sports car, and even though it's much easier to run and to use than my old 911, which was really old school and air cooled and heavy and recalcitrant and difficult and all that stuff. This is now, well, it is a different experience, and that's why I have it. And it's a driver's car. It really is a driver. It's probably, if you want the Porsche, it's a 6-cylinder Porsche. It's a flat 6 engine, mid-engine, open top. It's a roadster. Now, what its competitors, you have the MX-5, obviously, but it's not really a competitor to this in the sense that it's a different kind of car, and it with the motor configuration and also the placement of it, it's kind of a different. That's slightly different. So, and also the MGTF, that is mid-engine with a 4-cylinder. Yep, brakes work. 4-cylinder, I think it's a K engine, K-series engine, whatever. Anyway, I've never driven that, but they say it's a good car and it's decent enough to drive and everything. And also you have the Mercedes SLK, which is steel roof and everything. Of course, the SLK might be more of a, I'm not gonna say a poster car, because it's not. I love the SLK. I was actually always wanted to buy one, never got around to it. Now I probably never will. It's a different kind of car than this. It's not as sporty, but it definitely maybe also worth to check up. It's an old. These cars are now so old that it doesn't really matter how. Their mileage is sort of irrelevant. What's important is how they've been kept, how they've been serviced and looked after. This one looks a bit shabby, yeah, because it is a little bit shabby. The interior is a bit shabby, the exterior hasn't been washed in a while. I've only painted half the car and stuff. But yeah, like I was saying before this thing fell down, there's no the important for me is that I know that there's no leaks anywhere. The engine's oil has been changed, the gearbox is in order, it's sweating a little bit of oil. I know it's dripping a little bit sometimes, but it's nothing major. And as long as the mechanic tells me it's fine, keep a look at it, it's okay. The suspension is in order, the tires are new, all the mechanical bits. As long as I know there's no imploding doom coming towards me, that's a little bit more important to me, at least, than that the car looks 100%. Sure, it's great to have a clean new car, but it's of no value if you don't take care of what's actually keeping it running in the big oily bits. But that's my take on it anyway. So, still love the car, still running fine after 3 years. And yeah, there's not really much to say. I'm always open for bids. So, but yeah. Oh, look, I got a check engine light. I wonder what that is. That's the beauty of all the cars. There's always an error code waiting, lurking somewhere for you to check out. It's probably nothing. Probably another O2 sensor. Because there are 4 O2 sensors in this car. I've changed one of them. So, yeah. Either way, I think that's it for now. I've been rambling on for long enough. Thanks for watching. Do take care out there, and I'll see you in another video in another car. Goodbye.